Russian forces have seen a notable rise in losses of older t-62 tanks in Ukraine, even as the overall number of destroyed armored vehicles continues to decline. According to military analyst Richard Vereker on X, an analysis based on visually confirmed data from warspotting.net indicates a sustained drop in total Russian tank losses, with the trend becoming particularly pronounced in June and July 2025. At the same time, the share of destroyed T-62s has grown significantly. Between March and July, losses of this model increased 2.5 times, suggesting their more frequent deployment to front-line positions. Vereker notes that Russia appears to be withdrawing newer tanks, such as the T-80, into reserve units to preserve them, reflected in the sharp decline in losses of these models. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia has lost 3,545 tanks as of July 2025, according to Richard Vereker. Losses in recent months have been among the lowest recorded, 19 in June and 25 in July, compared to 70 in February, 68 in March, 60 in April, and 31 in May. Preliminary August figures show only 2 tanks lost so far. T-72 tanks account for the largest share of overall losses, with 1,529 destroyed, followed by T-80s with 1,113, T-62s with 274, and T-90s with 168. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Russia has lost approximately 11,089 tanks since the start of the full-scale invasion on February the 24th, 2022, as of August the 10th, 2025. Earlier, OSINT analysis showed Russia retrieving Cold War-era T-72A and T-72 Ural tanks, many in poor condition, from long-term storage as stocks of modern armor run low, underscoring the scale of battlefield losses and the strain on its defense industry. Forbes recently reported that in some sectors of the front, Ukrainian forces now have a tank advantage. This success is due to trained combat teams equipped with various drones capable of mining terrain or directly striking armored vehicles. As a result, Russian tanks have become vulnerable. Many fail to even reach the front lines, forced instead to operate from the rear as makeshift, imprecise artillery. During nearly 3 years of its full-scale war against Ukraine, Russia has lost more than 10,000 tanks, Ukraine's General Staff reported. Facing these losses, Russia has resorted to refurbishing old stockpiles, even deploying antiquated T-55 tanks, first introduced in 1958, and sometimes even older models. Enormous reserves in Siberia have become a patchwork donor base, with mechanics cobbling together functional tanks from multiple derelict ones. Combined with intensive production efforts, Russia has managed to deliver up to 100 tanks per month to the front lines. However, even this pace failed to provide a decisive advantage. During an operation in the Sumy region, Ukrainian intelligence forces wiped out over 8 Russian companies, showcasing impressive coordination and effectiveness. Valery Ryabik, military expert and Defense Express Development Director, stated this on Espresso TV. It should be noted that the General Staff and the Ukrainian Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief have similar tools, including for use in such critical moments. But still, we can talk about planned actions because, in principle, in this case, we are not talking about specially trained special forces units being sent to the front just to sit in trenches. They were engaged in exactly the kind of work for which they were created, assigned, and, as they say, sharpened. These are raids deep into enemy territory, disrupting the enemy's rear operations and cutting off the supply lines of units on the front line, and accordingly actions to detect and destroy the enemy in certain areas, he said. Valery Ryabik noted that the number of fighters is not as important as their skills, motivation and coordination. What has been reported now, what we can focus on, is that almost 2 enemy battalions were put out of action. We're talking about 8 companies, which is at least 2.5 battalions. This shows that the number of fighters is not important. What matters are skills, motivation, and most importantly, coordination. Because if you look at even the short video that was published, the level of coordination is impressive. Actions on the ground, actions in the air by reconnaissance, actions by supporting units such as artillery and drone units, which deliver coordinated strikes, and accordingly, the level of command is impressive. This is exactly the level of coordination and effectiveness that units should strive for. For this, first and foremost, you need the best quality people, the best equipment for them, and accordingly, the right organization of command, coordination, and comprehensive support. Then the result will be the same, regardless of how many enemy forces oppose such units, the military expert believes. Recall on August the 5th, Ukrainian intelligence operatives from the Timor Special Unit of the Main Intelligence Directorate successfully stopped an attempt by Russian troops to advance in the Sumy direction. During the operation, Ukrainian soldiers successfully penetrated enemy lines, destroyed several enemy positions, and secured their own foothold. Russian troops' advance has been stopped, and the supply of provisions and ammunition to their troop group has been disrupted.